Should women actually show the guy that they are interested or just wait for the guy to come to them?
Absolutely drop hints. We are simple creatures and we need it.
When you're married, someone who has the attitude of I'm always right, I cannot think of a worse trait to be married to. No. And I've encountered it a few times. No, I'm just kidding. In my other marriages.
I get a little annoyed with people who, and I love you guys, but if you're just saying all the time, there's just nobody at my church, I'm like, you're probably blind. I've had multiple friends that I've been like, this guy was great. He wasn't a fit for me. You should go on a date with him. And then they did. And sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. But
were you tempted to do that with me after the first date?
Well, we didn't live in the same city, so it was a little different.
Okay.
Have you ever gone to church and you started crushing on someone? You're like, man, I really want them to ask me out. Or you're the guy and you're like, I want to ask them out, but I don't want this to get awkward. So you just stay liking them for weeks on end and you just don't know what to do. But every time you come to church, you look at them from across the room and think, maybe this will be the day that they ask me out. Maybe this will be the day that I finally have the courage to ask them out. Well, we're talking about dating in church community today. This is the episode for you.
Well, we're in luck because, it's February or end of February. Your young adults pastor just gave that once a year talk on dating and relationships and you have to wait 11 months. And I've always wondered like you, well, could we get a little bit deeper on some of those thoughts? Could we get a little bit more information here about what dating in a young adult community should look like? And you're in luck because we have the Belonging Co., young adults pastor Neiman with us today. What's up, bro?
What's up, my guy? It's so good to be here.
Go. He's also local.
Yeah.
He went to Rival High School.
Yeah, dude.
Rival High School.
Let's go Brentwood.
Yeah, he's a Bruin.
Okay.
So how long have you been at TBCO?
My wife and I have been attending TBCO for the last 8 years.
Okay.
Oh, amazing.
On staff for 3.
Okay. So young adult pastor for 3 the whole time. Okay. And you're also a drummer.
Yes.
Okay.
That's cool.
Are you a professional drummer? Like you do that on the side, like you play in bands and gigs and stuff?
Yeah, I would say I'm a professional drummer.
Okay.
And it's more of music is like breathing for me. It's just a part of it.
You probably know one of my exes. I will not say his name, but I'll tell you off air who he is. He definitely does.
Do.
Let's go.
He's a YouTube drummer.
Copy.
Lives in Nashville.
Okay,
A name. Cool name. Okay. I have a question. Why is it always the drummer in the worship kind of band who has the problems and has got the behavioral issues? Is he a hired gun? Is that why? It's like always the drummer.
I relate to that because I was that guy. Behavioral issues, all of the things. But I actually think it's because drummers set the foundation and the tone for it. And I think drummers are actually unifiers. And so it's this struggle between wanting to stand out, and every drummer wants to be at the front of the stage, but we're always kind of tucked back.
Yeah, hidden behind like the plexiglass too.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
But those are from the devil. I hate the plexiglass.
So in an ideal world, you're front and center on the stage with your drums.
Yeah, dude.
And then everyone's behind you.
There was actually this band called The Script. Do you remember them?
Do you?
I think so, yeah.
The Script?
I think I remember
It was
that.
the first time, what about Mute Math?
Yes.
Mute Math.
Yes.
Darren King broke the mold, and he was up front and like to the side, and I said, I can do that.
So is that what you do at the Belonging, or are you tucked in the corner?
No. We're tucked in the back. It's not about us, right? It's all about Jesus, for sure.
Okay. And then also you're a golfer as well, right?
Yes, I am a new to golf last 6-8 months.
Every person who JJ asks you're a golfer, they're like so hesitant. They're like, oh, well,
that's what you do.
You have
can't
to
come out hot.
No, dude, I cannot.
Yeah. That's all of us. Whether you're good or not, we all say, Exactly. Okay, well, to start off, Kate and I have a bunch of hot takes.
Let's go.
About dating in the church, and you just get to agree or disagree with them.
Yes.
So, Kate, you want to lead us off?
Yes. Okay, are you ready for this, Neiman?
Let's go.
You didn't see these, so this is very fun. All right. Church dating is overhyped. Everyone's just waiting for a God told me moment that never comes. Is that true or false?
Putting him on the spot.
True.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so too.
It is. Do you want me to respond to any of these?
Yeah, please. Go ahead. Yeah.
A waiting for a God told me moment, I think, is a beautiful heart posture on the get. Obviously, yes, we need to be considering our foremost relationship, our relationship with Jesus. That's a premium. But sometimes we can actually get stuck there. I think that God actually is incredibly kind. And sometimes you get a yes and you get a no. We all love the black and white moments with the Lord, 100%. But sometimes he's saying, hey, make the decision. There's this beautiful passage in 1 Samuel chapter 14, which is an incredible.
I just read that the other day.
It's one of my favorite stories, especially on transition. If you're in that space, go read it. But it's this conversation between Jonathan and his armor bearer. And he's like, hey, there's like a bunch of Philistines over here on this mountain. We should go get them. What do you think? And his armor bearer replies to him and he says, whatever's in your heart to do, know that I'm with you. And I just love that concept of thinking like, hey, I'm living rightly. I'm tracking with the Lord. I'm not a perfect human, nor will I ever be. However, the steps of a righteous man or woman are ordered by the way of the Lord. And I'm going to try this. I'm going to go with it. And if it's out of sync, or if the Lord's leading me or this other individual into another direction, I'm going to trust that he's going to lead my steps. Give me that.
Yes, it's so good because it's operating with the confidence that your heart is in the right place.
100%.
And you can take action from there.
100%.
Okay, that was a good one. All right. I have a great one. All right, are you ready?
I love this next one.
If a guy doesn't call it a date and says, let's hang out, he's already disqualified as a man pursuing you.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
So you're saying that if he's saying, hey, let's hang, it's already disqualified that he's pursuing?
Yeah, like a pre-qualification for a guy to pursue you is like he, on the front end, has maturity, confidence, whatever you want to call it, to say, hey, I would love to take you out on a date.
Oh, dang. Yeah, I get that. But sometimes that you want to catch a vibe, you want to catch the feels and see, like, is this it before I actually define it, before I go there? Because when you say, can I take you out on a date? I feel like for the girl that can immediately spark something. Maybe you just want to find a friendship or get in that foundation.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm iffy on that one.
Well, that one definitely hits a pain point, right? Of like the high pressure dating.
Yeah.
And so we kind of wish it would be a date, but it would also be a hangout.
Yes.
You know, if you can kind of blend
we
this
want
out.
it to be low price. I think the problem with it is that the word date, or will you go on a date with me, feels so heavy, and we've made it that way when it doesn't have to be. It's like, really it could. And what we try to do is like, let's just take some of the pressure off of this. And so that there's not so much pressure on a date. It's like a 60-minute hangout. It really is.
And I might even suggest that would be better if we led with that, because then you wouldn't get a bunch of just little pockets of people just kind of confused on what are we?
What it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. All right, Kate's got the next one.
Okay. Should women actually show the guy that they are interested, or just wait for the guy to come to them?
Absolutely drop hints. We are simple creatures, and we need it. We need a loving push sometimes.
Okay, I agree. Okay, what about this one? Talking about your testimony on a first date as a total buzzkill. Save it for date 3, 4, 5.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Okay.
Like, get to know this person, have some fun, the levity and the friendship. I think that's one of my things that I want to see in young adult dating relationships is have fun.
Yes.
We are so big on purity with physical boundaries, but we have entered into a day and age where we are having emotional, we're treating it like we are already in covenant emotionally.
Yes. Oh my gosh,
because I'm sharing my deepest, darkest secrets that only me and the Lord know. And that's a version of intimacy that is actually only reserved for covenant.
Very good. Okay. So coming from the pastor, testimony can wait. It's like an onion. So. You will get there.
Yeah.
You will get deeper, but just focus on having fun and building a friendship and connection.
Yeah.
Okay.
So true.
I think it's good. Like, duh, like you're in love with Jesus, you're Christ's follower. Like, absolutely talk about your faith.
Yes.
Talk about, I gave my life to the Lord a couple of years ago, last year, last week, whatever that case, wherever you are on your journey. It's not negative to talk about those things, but I think it's even talking about testimony as far as like, I don't know, keep it keep it simple. Keep it, hey, I once was lost, now I'm found.
Yeah, because maybe there's a little bit of a tendency to like that first date, you're trying to impress them, like to really, go deep, go super spiritual, really, really show how much God is just, and what you, like I don't want to say it's performative, but it almost feels like there's got to be that spiritual posturing.
Oh yeah, people feel like they have to I have to tell you my whole testimony. So you just really know all this about me. But to your point, it's the emotional intimacy gets so intense. And what you see sometimes on these first dates with people is it becomes a 6-hour first date because they got into their testimonies and there's so many alignments. And now it just keeps going on. And they have this amazing 6 hours together. And then, one of them never contacts the other again, or it just quickly fades out. And it's it's so much more heartbreaking because you just went so deep so fast.
100%. And I think that actually sometimes we overshare almost in an attempt to be relatable
I agree.
or to bring walls down when all we're doing is putting walls up. Or going too deep too fast. And I think that our testimony is actually not supposed to make us relatable. It's supposed to bring him glory. And
wow, okay.
So
I love that.
Hot take there.
I like that phrase. All right, Kate, you got the next one.
Okay. Okay. Dating within the same small group is a recipe for disaster. Keep it outside of the small group. Is that fair or harsh?
Nah, dude, I disagree.
Yeah.
I love dating in the same small group. I mean, I think small groups are very specific because the church, even if you're at a church that is a mega church or a large church, it's a small community, to a degree. And small groups, I think if you look at it as I want to stay outside, then you've already created a barrier. I think actually dating within a small group, you already have accountability, you have trust, you have incredible leaders, hopefully there that can walk alongside you and you can even bounce questions off of. You know what I mean?
I totally agree with you. It's so great. Use the example all the time, JJ, to see someone in community first.
Yeah.
Especially even in the intimacy of small group.
Oh yeah, I think it's the best. And I actually think especially for men too, the phenomenon that happens is physically you might not be the most attracted to her. Like she wouldn't have been the first girl you picked out as the most beautiful. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I just mean you actually see her character, her spirit, and that is what starts to grow on you.
Yes.
And all of a sudden, 6 months, a year from now, a girl who maybe didn't catch your eye at first has all of a sudden become one of the most beautiful women you know. Period. Because of her spirit and her soul. And that's one of my favorite reasons. But I also love what you said. Dating within your small group and your church community naturally brings an accountability so that if you do date like a fool, there will be consequences. There will be a disaster, and there should be, right? Because we should not be dating that way. No. Okay. Next one. If he's not asking you out after 3 months of fellowship and hanging out, he's just not into you and you should just move on.
I think that's circumstantial, potentially. I think, yes, to a degree. Dang, that's tough.
Maybe drop the hint.
Drop the hint.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
I think 3 months is a great time to drop the hint.
Yeah. After 3 months.
Yeah, for sure.
And being in his vicinity.
Yeah.
Just, you got to find out.
Yeah. And I think it's the earnest is then on the guy to be very clear and say yes or no.
Okay. Well, speaking of guys, Kate has a good follow-up one.
Okay. So on a first date, church guys, should they pay for the first date? Or is it fine if he asks her to split the bill?
Now, I'm a bit old school in my approach.
We are in the South here.
And yes, this is real. I would have been, my mama would have slapped me if I wouldn't have paid. I think it's a very polite and kind thing to offer.
Yeah.
But in the day and age that we live in, women want, we've got a lot of boss ladies, that are doing great. And that's awesome. And I'm here for it. I married one. And you know what? If she wants to offer to pay for, if she beats you to the punch, then let her do it. 100%. I don't think it's necessarily gender specific, but as a man, I'm always going to encourage, hey dude, bring flowers, open that door and pay for the meal.
Yeah.
Okay. Is it a red flag if he doesn't walk you to your car, open the door? Would you kind of?
I wouldn't necessarily say it's a red flag. I think this is a beautiful opportunity for women to help train.
Yeah, I agree. Like if he ever does it one time, I would probably say to the guy, wow, thank you so much for walking me to my car. Like I felt so safe when you did that. It made me feel really good.
Yeah.
And you're basically telling the guy like how you feel when he does that. Yep. And that's language that speaks to him of like, oh, I want to make her feel safe. I want to make her feel good. Okay.
What about,
well, I want to do that again.
What about if he doesn't do it though?
Well,
this beautiful opportunity. How do you say it?
You could definitely say, hey, I know you totally didn't mean anything by this, but next time, would you be open to walking me to my car? It just makes me feel more safe. And
1,000%.
Not but make him be on the defense by like, hey, you didn't walk me to my car. I didn't like that. It's all about the tone, how you say it, give a generous assumption, but I think you totally can train somebody
100%.
in some of the manners. I'm an old school. I did not grow up in the South, but I am definitely, I mean, most of my dating journey was in New York and LA. So it's very much people split the bill and very much the girl boss places, but I still loved even though I loved being pursued. And when a guy walked me to my door or walked me, I loved that. Any guy that did that, I would definitely give a second date.
1,000%. And I think you said something so profound that we never want to lose the art of pursuing. Mm-hmm. As a man, it's a privilege to be able to pursue a woman and love them. And even just if it's friendship, first date kind of thing, we haven't gotten to the love place necessarily. It's not your cultural experience. It's not a background thing. Chivalry is not dead. I think pursuit is a worldwide type of thing.
Yeah, I think it's a huge honor and it's also a huge responsibility.
I'm just so frustrated. There's no good single guys out there.
Honestly, I've been married 20 years. You just need to get yourself out there and start dating. Like, I see you. I live with you. I love you as a daughter. You just got to go out there and date.
I'm eye rolling right now.
Yeah, but look, I don't know what else to tell you. Go out there and date and find someone and marry them.
Annoying.
I think it's so funny. You hear all your life, especially as a Christian, just go out there and date. Just go out there and find something, blah, blah, blah. And no one ever teaches you how.
Yeah, nobody teaches you the basics of how to get out there and do this thing with integrity and, how to handle rejection, how to handle when conflict comes up and you want to avoid the situation or you feel anxious.
And that's probably why you guys are listening to Heart of Dating right now. Okay, so I love that. We have created a new program called Basics of Dating. It's basically just a 6-week program, and it's a blueprint for how to date well. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we go through things like trauma and triggers. We go through creating your list and figuring out what you're actually looking for. And eventually we do get to how to put yourself out there, dating community, and actually find people. So this is perfect for if you've never dated before, you've dated a lot of toxic people and are in a pattern of dating a bad way. Or maybe if you just recently got out of a heartbreak and you need to heal and just press restart. We've made this really affordable, especially if you guys can't afford our mentorship program, School of Dating. So go ahead and check it out. Go to joinbasicsofdating.com. And another fun thing is every single month you get a coaching call with one of our in-house coaches, a group coaching call where you get to ask any questions that you have about dating. And so can't wait to see you in Basics of Dating.
Now, speaking of the men, actually, we'll make this one gender neutral, okay? Instead of always coming after the men. If you find out on the first date that they don't have a mentor or some sort of accountability, someone speaking into their life, that's a deal breaker.
Yeah, to a degree.
Yeah,
I think so. It's more of a red flag.
Yeah.
To me, I don't necessarily think. I don't know. It probably is a deal breaker now that I'm thinking about it.
Well, because it's hard, right? You don't want to be maybe that person who forces them to get it, because that's one of those things where they have to want it.
Well, it's an onion, right? So it opens up a myriad of other doors in my brain. I
agree.
If they're not being led, how are they going to lead you?
Yeah.
So this concept of submission, authority, this understanding, we always need that in our life, no matter who you are, a girl, guy, whatever. Someone's speaking into your life. And so to me, it's just kind of a little bit of a lackluster.
Yeah, that for me is what I just simply call humility.
Yeah.
You know, like, are they humble enough to admit that they need someone to mentor, guide them, and submit to?
Period.
Yeah.
Because that for me is like, you're married, you get it. When you're married, someone who has the attitude of I'm always right.
No.
I cannot think of a worse trait to be married to.
No.
And I've encountered it a few times. No, I'm just kidding. My other marriages.
Ooh,
Neiman's
babe, it's getting hot in here.
Neiman's like, all right, I'm going to go.
Me and the dog, we're just going to get chill.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
Okay, well, we put you on the hot seat.
Great.
I do have some other questions for you. So obviously you've been around a lot of young adults. What are the average ages of like the people that you're often around or, pastoring right now?
Yeah, at the Belonging, we have our young adults ministry, Good Company, is focused on 18 to 30-year-olds.
Okay, amazing. Okay, so in that crowd of people and whoever you're seeing, single, from a pastoral perspective, how do you think dating in the church is going right now? And I'm not just saying like at Belonging Co. We're not trying to out Belonging Co.'s dating. I'm saying just from your perspective, I know you have other pastor friends and are connected to other churches. Mm-hmm. How is it going? How would you say it's going within the church right now in dating, like church communities?
Yeah, I think what we're seeing right now from the Belonging Co. perspective and just I think nationwide is you're actually seeing, I personally believe God is maturing his church.
Good to hear.
And to me, it's beautiful to see people plugging into community and actually having a heart for an authentic relationship. I said this before, but the premium relationship that we should be focused on is a relationship with Jesus. Yeah. It's why he went to the cross. It was to restore intimacy, restore access and relationship with the Father. And so if he puts a premium on that relationship with him, how much more does he care about our relationships with one another? And so right now I'm seeing a lot of beautiful community birth, whether it's in small groups or just people going to hang over at people's house. I mean, severance watch party happening, like it's a whole thing. And so you see a lot of people, groups of people hanging. I'm interested to see, and I love the community. Yeah. I'm interested to see what births out of that because you get male, female together in any concept. Someone's going to catch feels at some point.
Yeah, exactly.
We're going to have a define the relationship moment. So I'm eagerly anticipating some of these groups and things that are beautiful on the get, just where it kind of leads.
It's like a natural law, like gravity. If you put single men and women,
it's going to happen
in the same room. It's going to happen. And that's a good thing.
Yeah. And I've actually seen too, a lot of, call it 30, 40-year-olds, just that next gen, the millennial group that are married, that have kids, actually have a hunger and a heart for seeing it done right. It's like the millennial group, like we're all millennials here. It's like, we didn't do it right in a lot of ways. Yeah. Let's learn, let's teach. You can learn from us. And so,
great.
That's beautiful.
Well, it's awesome to just see that they care. Yeah. I was just speaking with a friend in Orange County. He's a young adults pastor and they run their young adult ministry, but it's very Gen Z. Yeah. And it's like, and he came in and what they're trying to change is like, it almost feels like a youth group. And what makes me really sad is when people get married and then our 30s and their couples and the ones with kids, they actually don't see themselves fitting in. And that is really sad because we need them. Yes. And we want them and they have a purpose. And one of those purposes is to be with Neiman 5 years ago, who's single. I wish I could grab JJ 5 years ago, single, and just hang with him and let him know and just be there. And that's that kind of fall off sometimes of when we kind of silo the church and good intention, we're going to have a group for this, a group for this, a group for this. You kind of lose that family aspect of the generational wisdom being imparted.
Dude, 1,000%. And that's one of those things that, I mean, we've really tried, at least with Good Company, to try and eliminate that. It's not about all of these islands within a greater context of the church. We are one body. And so we encourage, hey, come attend with everyone. We don't have a separate young adult service. And we have, there's 75% young adults that attend on a specific night, but we don't like label it that way all the time. And it helps break down some of that siloing that you see sometimes.
Now I have a question. If the natural law of gravity is like it falls, and the natural law of like community is you put single guys and girls in the same room, feelings, DTRs, dating happens.
Yeah.
How do you kind of try to like interfere with gravity or guide it? And because I feel like the natural in our flesh in that situation, you actually end up sometimes with those disasters in your young adult communities. There's fallout, there's blah, 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 there's hurt, there's pain.
Yeah.
How do you as a young adult pastor kind of come alongside that and maybe try to guide, nudge, kind of like the bumpers in bowling, establish
The bumpers.
so that it's done and there's not nuclear fallout on a weekly, monthly basis of this. I think it's so sacred, like sacred communities that God is moving and forming and shaping.
Yeah, dude. I think I'm constantly thinking about, when walking with people and getting to steward their heart and love them. It's one of those things to where you're looking at potential red flags, potential blind spots. And so I'm looking for the blind spot of, for instance, like we discussed earlier, how deep are we going in the early days?
Yeah.
Or, have you made that move? Or are you just sitting in perpetual stagnation, just waiting for the right moment? It's just make a move, whether you're a guy or a girl.
Yeah.
And I think that sometimes you just have to let the chips fall as they may. But being that proverbial bumper, I'm always going to put a bumper up because at the end of the day, when you got bumpers, you're going to hit, right? You're going to have that moment where you get a strike, you hit your target. And it looks different case by case, but
yeah. And sometimes we kind of have to make the mistake, I guess as men, we have to make the mistake and feel the pain of it before we're open to instruction.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
So women are a little bit more wise and smart.
They are. Absolutely.
Thank you guys. I do have a question though. A big thing I hear rumblings around, again, this is just the masses, not any specific communities, but a lot of women are like, hey, guys, don't ask girls out in the church anymore because they're freaked out about it. I actually believe that a lot of the reason for why that might be the case, and I want to hear your thoughts, is because they think that the women are talking about them and they're nervous because if they ask one girl out, every girl in that group is going to know and they will never have an opportunity with any other girl. They have to be very careful to only choose one. And it's like their one shot and that's it. And they're worried that if they're not perfect, that the girls are maybe going to talk a little poorly about them or they'll be blacklisted. So you hear these rumblings all around that guys don't ask girls out in the church because it's too risky. And so they want to go outside the church. Have you seen that?
Yeah, totally. And I'd love to see the I guess, culture, if you will, of when you ask a girl out, you want to take them on a date. If it doesn't work out and then you guys come back to church, and then he asks another girl out, I think let's keep some space maybe there.
Yeah.
Like, let's not go one date, one night, another date the next.
Yeah.
Let's use wisdom. But if there's been some time there, he's tracking with, a pastor, discipleship leader, whatever it is. And we can't say he's a player.
Yeah.
Just because this didn't work out. I mean, then we're just cutting people at the knees.
Exactly. You
know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And it does create this fear culture of, nah, man, I don't want the label. I don't want to be talked about. Can't do it. I'm not a fan of that for sure.
Yeah.
So with that, like, as we talk about maybe one thing that you could change about the church and the culture that you're trying to, what would that kind of like vision for young adult dating look like a blueprint? Like men should be able to ask out women on low pressure, low stake, and then take it from there.
Yeah, I think men should be able to speak their feelings. I think that also men have to step up just a little bit. Love you guys. I'm here for y'all. But we have seen women in the church find their voice of what their faith is and how they're confident. And sometimes men actually get intimidated by that. But it's the most beautiful thing. My wife is one that knows her voice, knows her identity in Christ, and she's not ashamed to speak about it. And it's the most attractive thing to me about her. And I think that you shoot your shot and say, hey, I love that. Would you be able to go out on a date? And if it doesn't work out, don't get hurt feelings and don't get all sad and sappy. Just keep moving and say, oh, thank you, Lord, that didn't work out.
Yeah, like the rejection's so personalized.
Yes.
And it's hard not to, right?
Totally.
Like that's your natural flesh.
Yeah. And vice versa. I think girls should be able to, I think, again, going back to the old school thing, guys, let's lead that. But girls too, like I'm going to say something. It could be a total hot take because I'm with a dating coach and I'm just going to say this.
I promise you I've said something worse. So
well, I'm like, I would love to see girls even in the response, even acknowledge the fact that a guy took a step of faith, a confident step to say what he's saying. I like you, or I would love to take you out for a coffee. Can we just maybe go on that? Unless you're just like, absolutely not. Heck no.
Right.
If there's a thought, maybe, who knows? I have nothing else going on. Yeah, sure. I'll go on a date with you.
Yeah.
I would love to see that take place.
Yeah.
That you're not waiting for your proverbial knight in shining armor person who is completely perfected. I am in the space that I am after almost 8 years of marriage. But me, when I first got married, and I know you can attest to this, I'm not the man I was.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank goodness.
Thank God.
Yeah.
And so it's not like waiting for the perfect person. There is iron that sharpens iron in the midst of dating that leads into marriage, that you just become the person God has called you to be.
Yeah.
And so, I would love to see more steps of faith just kind of taken.
But do women hear that though and kind of hear like a faint message of, are you asking me to settle or compromise, and because then you'll hear another message from another Christian influencer who's like, I ignored that. I dreamed and prayed and heard from God, and I got that handsome hunk of meat who was everything I wished and more.
So I have a thought on this.
Yeah.
Sorry, babe.
No, that's what I was hoping for.
I think every person is unique. The people we coach, and I coach one-on-one, it's like some of them are so stuck in this little list of little things of like so minuscule that I'm like, okay, I'm not saying God doesn't care that his hair is brown, but like maybe you need to be open. Okay. Yeah. Maybe you need to be open that he's maybe not 6'2", maybe he's 5'10", and is that okay? And I think that there's some people that hold it so tightly that it's like, okay, like some of this is more on the superficial side. I always ask people like, hey, keep your list to character qualities instead of so specific down to like hair color and, body type and height and things like that. Because I do think people are really limiting themselves. Like sometimes they're just so specific on what kind of job they have, what kind of this, that, and the other. And so JJ was not my type. And people listening know that's my story. He had blue hair. He's age gap. He's 5.5 years younger.
I look cool.
Just was like not my thing. I was not into it. He had a black earring. He now has another earring because he got one a month ago.
We always get what we want, don't we?
And he also has a mullet now. So I can't control the hair. But anyway.
It's in. Yeah, it's in.
But anyway, I was not into it. I was like, oh, this is just not my style. And his actual style was also very different. And so for me, if I just saw him at church, I would be like, he asked me, I'd probably be like, no.
Would you have said no?
I wouldn't necessarily have said no because I was in a season of challenging myself, but maybe a few years before I would have definitely said no.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I was so set on like, I had to date a certain kind of like the pretty boy Christian that was a musician. And like, that was my type. Okay. Yeah. And so I think I love your point because it's like, hey, just challenge, unless it's, you just no. This is like, for sure, never going to be a thing for you. If you have spent any time around them, you like them as a friend, like, why not just go on one date with them?
Especially if you have a friendship. And let's get away from the fear of, we're going to mess up the friendship.
Yeah.
I think so many people get stuck
I agree.
in a holding pattern of just ambiguity of, I just don't want to mess up the friend group. And going back to like the small dating within small group, you then take a macro perspective and you don't want to mess up the entire group dynamic. Mm-hmm. Just do it and then be adults and move on.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work out.
Walk me through that because that is probably the number one line we hear.
Yeah.
I don't want to mess up the friend group.
Totally.
Okay.
That's probably one of the number one lines.
And you're like, I agree. So you can walk me through that then.
Yeah.
I agree. I don't want you to mess up the friend group either. Mm-hmm. Here's how you can date and not mess up the friend group.
Yeah. If you have that friendship, I think friendship is key in any relationship. It's gotta be. And have fun at first. Go on some dates. Don't necessarily. Personally, as an old school kind of dude, you don't have to be posting about it. You don't have to talk about it.
You don't have to soft launch.
No, we don't have to soft launch. But
exactly.
If you're going out, you don't have to inform necessarily everyone in the group as well.
That's exactly. I was going to ask you that question. Like, how much should this be talked about?
But it's so exciting, guys. They're finally, after crushing on each other.
Oh, okay. With that point, I think then the earnest is also on the friend group. Let's just chill out.
Yeah, chill out.
Let people
just a date.
That. And it's not obviously if you're a good friend and you see something that could be a potential blind spot. Yeah, in friendship and in love, like, hey, dude, watch out. Like, you don't see this, but just being a brother or a friend, whatever. Yeah, do that, but let people go on dates.
Look, my hands have blood on them because I can think about multiple situations in the church community group because we love love. Is that what it is? We just love. It's so exciting to see two people who we love and enjoy finally start dating after kind of seeing them like each other.
Totally.
And it's hard not to want to hype it up.
It's like your own personal reality show in front of your eyes. You're like, whoa, I'm going to watch this.
So what you're saying is, hey, you guys cool it too.
Yeah.
Just let them be. There's a good chance it might not work out.
Yeah.
There's a good chance it might work out.
Totally. I like things to get to about the 6 month mark. If we're dating, I think 6 months is such a great test. Now, I have no scientific proof on this. You would have way more understanding on this.
There's not a lot.
But through my life and walking with people, it's around the 6 month mark where that first big fight happens.
Yeah.
6 months is like, okay, honeymoon phase is done. We are now, it's kind of like make or break it moment.
Yeah.
And I like to give people that space to figure it out, find your likes, your dislikes, get to know each other. At 6 months, it's from there on. Are we doing this or not? Especially in at the upper 25 to 30 range and older. Yeah, I think that's a biggie.
Yeah, we always say for dating engagement, the first 6 months, the primary question you're answering is, could we get married? And then 6 months after that is, should we get married?
Yeah.
And that's kind of like,
should we actually get married?
Yeah.
That's a great question.
Right fit?
Great.
Yeah.
You know, I'm loving this because there's just so much dating in community that I feel like goes awry, but it can be done. I just want to tell you guys a little bit about a few things that happened at the end of my dating career.
It was a career.
JJ has now met several guys I've dated in California anyway. But, you know, I do really think that you can go on dates with people in your church community and have it end and it not be destructive.
No.
And in fact, there were guys I went on dates with that were decent guys, but I just, after 2-3 dates was like, this isn't the right fit for me. And I was dating pretty openly. But honestly, and this is so true, you guys, and I think that this could be awesome. I would love to know your thoughts, but I would actually sit there and be like, hey, this isn't going to work for me, but I actually am totally down to be a recommendation and recommend you to a girlfriend of mine because I think that you are a good guy. Yeah. And I definitely took away that whole girl code thing, which says I went on a date with him, so none of my friends can ever go on a date with him. I've had multiple friends that I've been like, this guy was great. He wasn't a fit for me. You should go on a date with him. And then they did. And sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. But I think that's how we could date. What?
Were you tempted to do that with me after the first date?
Well, we didn't live in the same city, so it was a little different.
Okay. Okay. Well,
my other question to you is boundaries. I think that's a big one not making this messy in the friend group, especially in church. Like, I think the boundary conversation definitely makes or breaks, is this awkward? Because if people start making out in those early stages of dating, then it is awkward afterwards when you see them and it didn't work out.
And take physicality, like we were talking about earlier, take that off the table.
Yeah.
If you went really deep in just sharing your heart, like oversharing, now that becomes an issue as well.
Yeah.
Because that's a boundary that's been crossed, or it was never a boundary to begin with.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's physical boundaries and then emotional and spiritual.
Yeah.
And I think the day I learned that was a huge day because I had only thought about it as physically.
Right. Totally.
And then emotionally, spiritually, you go so deep, so fast that of course, after like a date or two, you're like, I think I love this girl.
Yep.
I'm like, I don't doubt that you feel that way.
Yeah.
And then when you break up after 3 weeks of talking, it feels like a train just hit you.
Yeah.
And I don't doubt that either because you guys did. So, but dating in the community can be a train wreck. It can go horrific if boundaries are not observed, physical and emotional. Would you say a part of that, I feel like too, is there is this huge fantasy, put all your eggs in one basket. This is the one excitement. And so when it does end, it is like a dream that's being crushed. Like I think about a couple situationships and friendationships that turned into dating. They didn't make it past 2 or 3 weeks and they didn't really make out or maybe go that deep, but they were distraught. At least one of them after the fact, like absolutely heartbroken, couldn't come back to community group for months. We actually never got to see them again because they were just so crushed.
Yeah. Well, I think that, sometimes it's going to the question of, are you ready to be in a relationship?
Yeah.
Emotionally, spiritually healthy enough to say, yeah, I can get into a relationship. I think first and foremost, before any relationship, even before, going on a date, sometimes it is just good to say, hey, Lord, what are your thoughts? Just get that 100. And we were talking about boundaries. I think like early on in those, couple, 3 weeks, whatever, especially within groups where you guys have friend groups, like do stuff with the group. Don't automatically, all right, we're spending all this time together, even if you don't necessarily go past a certain way, like emotionally sharing, oversharing, but you're just texting, or 100% of your time is that, like you are forming an intimacy. Intimacy is being close, it's being together. And sometimes I think the friend group can get messed up as well when you just kind of detach. Yeah.
And that's maybe like a maturity thing of guarding your heart, guarding your mind.
Yeah.
I definitely agree that I do think one of the critical reasons why Christian dating can be so messy compared to secular dating is we actually are so intentional that our mind and our heart goes miles ahead of reality and where we're actually at.
Yeah.
So therefore, when reality goes another way, we're way down 100 miles in our mind and heart. We're like engaged, pre-engaged,
1,000%. I've seen the 2 to 3 week thing happen dating, and 3 weeks go by and they're already reading a marriage book.
Yeah, they're like mingling of souls. They're
I'm like
Matt Chandler's
hold up. I mean, please no. Like whoa, pump the brakes. And
like love the intention.
Yeah, the heart is good, but
Yes.
all of this it's going to get messy.
Yeah,
and it does,
Totally.
and it did.
Is that one of the most common things you probably see?
Yes and no. I mean, again, I think just kind of what we've been covering is what you see. You see the fear in Christian dating and dating within community. You see a lot of just people feeling a bit stagnant, yet this deep, deep desire to be married, to be, I think the young adult heart is to be in a relationship.
Yeah.
And, it's just a fear kind of almost holding back.
I do agree. I think fear is a big driving force between why people don't date in community. And I'm like, guys, we have to rewrite this script because dating within your church community is the best place to find someone. And here's the other thing, and Neiman, you can speak to this too. I mean, you guys have a ton of people at your church, but we have people listening that they're like, well, my church isn't as big as Belonging Co. And, trust me, Kate, trust me, JJ, trust me, Neiman. I have sourced out and, sussed out every guy or every girl at my church. And there's just not a single eligible one at my church. You hear that a lot. And I'm like, okay, then but do you have a single friend of the opposite gender at your church at all? Do you guys? Because that's a person you should consider. Just be open. Because if you, like you said this, like if they're a friend, that's an awesome potential candidate. And I think I get a little annoyed with people and I love you guys, but if you're just saying all the time, there's just nobody at my church, I'm like, you're probably blind. Or
well, I have a question. Say I'm a single, I go to Calvary Chapel Creek Baptist and, 30 minutes outside Tennessee, outside Nashville. And there's like 150 people in my church and it is, the senior citizens.
Yes.
As a young adult pastor, do you encourage and are you open for people Monday through Saturday to go to other churches, events, the good company, even if they don't maybe partake and give there on Sundays, to just come and meet people? Like, is that something that you guys encourage and you're like, come all like?
Oh, of course, man. I mean, if you're outside in one of those rural areas where you don't have people, or the majority of the people at your church is older and are married or whatever, definitely find those young adult spaces that are happening in your area or just outside, and take a step of faith. Drive an hour, and go to one of those things and just say, Lord, I'm longing for community. It's not saying that, okay, I'm looking to just uproot and replant. No, stay connected to wherever you're planted in. And that's a massive thing in and of itself. But going out and doing that stuff, I mean, I think that's a huge thing.
Yeah, I heard I agree. I mean, like, think about what we're saying here. Should you or should you not seek out community that's your age? Absolutely. Like, do whatever it takes actually to find that if you don't have it. Yeah, I love that you're at an older church or blah, 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 and you're rooted. But like, I heard a great quote the other day. It's connection is like oxygen, and without it, we're all suffocating. And I'm like, you need that connection.
Yeah.
And you need to be acknowledged that you're desperate for it, you want it, that you're hungry for it, and go and drive. And then I love that posture of like, God, I need this. I want this. Would you show it to me? Would you give it to me?
Yeah. And I think too, if you are at in one of those spaces where you're like, everyone at this church is married, there's no one eligible, like what the heck? Get in contact with some of those people, learn what they did right, learn what they did wrong, learn from people that have life experience that you don't have. And I think I always say with doing life kind of model, I think you need people that are peer-to-peer, that you're being sharpened by. You need someone a little bit further down that can kind of more frequently kind of speak into your life, that you're tracking with, accountability. And then someone that's down the journey, that has multiple seasons of fruitfulness in their life, that can speak into your life. And so make sure you have that, because that's just a good model for living life.
Yeah, I totally agree. And the only one you're missing is the one underneath you. Who's a few years behind you.
And always raising someone up, pouring something into that. Yeah, for sure.
Amen.
Neiman, this has been so awesome just to have you and have you speak into the hearts of our singles at Heart of Dating and share what you've seen being in the church with so many singles, and I love that you said, I love at the beginning earlier in the conversation, you were like, actually you're seeing a trend positively that right now in church communities, there's a hunger for singles to be mature, and they are actively maturing. And I think that's an encouragement. And so I love and want to just end on reflecting on that and bringing that back up, because I think sometimes singles themselves can feel like, oh, where are all these other singles that are maturing? And for you to say that collectively, that's what you're seeing, I think really is an encouragement. So thank you so much for being on today.
Thank you, guys.
It's been awesome.
What a pleasure.
See you tomorrow, bright and early.
Bright and early.
Let's go.
Hit it.
The Heart of Dating podcast is created by Kate and JJ Tomlin. Shout out to our epic audio and video editor, Scott Caro. We have an amazing Heart of Dating team who helps bring the show to you each week. I want to shout out Lena Gibson, our brand and community manager. We couldn't do it without them. Now, if you guys have never ranked us or reviewed us on iTunes or Spotify, would you consider doing that? It would mean so much, because our podcast can get more discovered and more people can learn how to better date as Christians. Don't we all want that? We launch our podcast each and every week on Wednesdays, so we will see you next week.